Here's this tea regarding the box office. So Elio flopped hard at the box office. It brought in, or I should just say it limped to $21 million. And that is according to what is that, Pixar? The lowest opening ever Pixar film. And no shade, but I'm not surprised. And I think it's because there's too many kiddie movies out right now. And movies is not cheap. And bad enough, you already had, parents are recovering still. I think they Wallace is recovering, not only because what we had first, Lilo and Stitch, the live action version, and then y'all came out with How to Train Your Dragon, the live version, and now you're coming out with an animated movie, like literally, like what, a week later? So that's too much on these parents. There's y'all, you got a choice. You either gonna go see this movie or you want to see the other movie. And I think a lot of the parents just focused on, yeah, let's go see How to Train Your Dragon because that's familiar territory. They already seen all the other animated movies, so let's see the live action version. The kids are familiar with Lilo and Stitch because their parents grew up on Lilo and Stitch, and now that they've got little ones, they want to show them all to that. So I feel like because they have that built-in foundation, that's exactly why those movies did well and Elio did not. So, and they probably be like, we could wait for Disney Plus for that movie to drop. It ain't that damn serious. But while all that was doing well, we'll get into all the numbers in a minute. Let's talk about 28 years later. So I will have to say, I've noticed that this movie has caused a great divide, especially if you're like a horror movie fan. And for me, y'all already know I am a horror, like out of all the genres of films, I'm a hardcore horror movie fanatic. So when I went to go see this movie, like I love the original 28 Days Later because I feel like it changed the game in regards of how we perceived zombie movies. I know a lot of people want to go on this whole little thing. It's not a zombie movie. They're infected with rainforest. It's a goddamn zombie movie. Because number one, if you saw this movie, they actually refer to them as zombies in it. So if Danny Boyle and Alex Garland, who are part of the original film, call them zombies, I think that y'all opinion is null and void because the people who created the rage virus and everything that goes on with that have pretty much solved the 20-some year mystery because quiet as it's kept, it's technically 28 years later than I come out 28 years from the original movie. But technically speaking, I mean, if the people that created the whole situation says that they are zombies, then that's what they are because they mentioned it in the movie. But anyway, there were parts of the film I love. I love Aaron Taylor Johnson. I thought he did a great job. This little kid that you see right here, Alfie Williams, brilliant performance as Spike. Normally when I watch movies or whatever, and y'all got kids up in there, I'd be side-eyeing because I always feel like people who write children always write them to work. My root canal, y'all write them more like that little boy in that show, The Strain, The Strain season 2. Because season 1, that little boy was tolerable. I forget his name, Zach, I think was his name. Season 2, I wanted to dive through my TV and take that boy's life myself. That's how much I couldn't stand that little boy. And sidebar, I actually started rewatching The Strain because they added The Strain to Shudder, even though it's already on Hulu or whatever. But Shudder just added it, so that's why I started doing a rewatch of that show because I was like, this show actually was pretty good, and I love the book. So I was like, let me just get back into the show. But anyway, that's vampires. But we're now talking about zombies. But I thought like everybody was good. Now the person that played his mother, Jodie Comer, who was right here in the middle, I thought she did a brilliant job as well. Ray Fiennes, of course, even his small little role that he did when he came in, he did a brilliant job. Why I know people wonder why he looked like that. He said because when you put iodine on you, the zombies don't like the taste of it. So that's why he douses some of that. He plays the doctor who Spike goes to take his mother to because his mother is sick, where she's got like some loopy mental situation going on. There might be some spoilers thrown up in here. So if y'all don't want to hear the spoilers, I might want to mute the thing or whatever until I'm done. But so basically how the movie started, Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, I can't remember his damn name, so we're just gonna have to call him Aaron Taylor Johnson in here. Aaron Taylor Johnson takes Spike out for like his sort of rite of passage into being a man. Like in certain traditions, you get your bar mitzvah, you get all that other stuff. But in this world, your rite of passage, you go out in the world and you actually kill like zombies. And there's different iterations of them. They have like these, I forget what they're called, but they have these fat slug-like ones that eat worms and they crawl on the ground and all this stuff. But then when they spot you, they get up and they start weeble wobbling, in your direction. So they have those zombies, and then they have I forget. I think there was some other kinds. I can't remember necessarily all the other ones that they had, but the main ones they had was like the alpha, and y'all, and the alpha one is controversial because when you see like the alpha zombies, they're like the crazy ones. They're the ones that sort of like evolved the most from the way we've seen them in the original films. But for some reason, all the alphas run around with no clothes on, and when you see the lead alpha who was like 7 foot plus, butt ass naked, running around with this ginormous penis, which I know like everybody is making a big deal about. It's a prosthetic, but nevertheless, um, everybody's running around making a big deal about, and his name is Samson, the lead alpha. He's running around, big old dingaling, swinging, running around, ripping people's heads off and all this kind of other stuff. And I was sitting there gagging the whole time. But I mean, that wasn't like the big issue. Everybody was making a big issue. I'm like, okay, I mean, as a homosexual, we've seen enough dicks in our lifetime. So that was nevertheless an issue for me. And then I know y'all probably wondering, like, where the hell this baby come from? Child, now they're exploring the fact that the infected can have children, all of this stuff, and then you come to find out the baby is not with the virus. So I was thinking, like, with the baby in the situation, why not just see if y'all could find somebody who could possibly find a cure for this virus by you actually taking the blood of a baby who was born from a zombie. Because I'm like, that would have been a pretty cool idea, which I kind of think it was like a play in, remember Dawn of the Dead, the one that Zack Snyder wrote? Well, Zack Snyder directed, but James Gunn wrote. I was like, that would be a pretty cool idea to explore with that. And I feel like also the zombie alpha thing were different iterations of the zombies and their exploration and how they've evolved. That was sort of explored in the, speaking of Zack Snyder, his what was it, Army of the Dead, they kind of explored, but he's not really trying to explore that world anymore, which I think is a damn shame. Because I was like, I like that film. It wasn't the greatest. There were some cool ideas in there, but to be honest, I would rather explore his zombie universe than that stupid Rebel Moon. I hated those freaking movies. So I just feel like I really hope that he dives back into that whole zombie thing. But I know, like, this movie was divisive in a sort of way because I like the idea of the whole rite of passage, him going out with his father, and sort of like this is his reiteration or his introduction to manhood. So he goes out and kills zombies. Then they come back home. The father basically makes up a bunch of stuff about Spike was like this big hero and all this other stuff. And then Spike doesn't really feel right inside because he's just like, this is not necessarily true, what you're saying. And, then what he does is he kind of goes off on his own when he's going to take his mother to find this doctor that he finds out about from someone that was actually watching over his mother while she was going through her episodes in bed. I ain't going to tell y'all what she ends up being diagnosed with because Ray Fiennes kind of does his little procedural thing with whatever it is that he has with his limited resources and discovers what actually is her issue. So, I mean, unless y'all already know, then y'all could drop it in the comments. But so then when she goes back, well, actually she doesn't go back. I'm not going to tell y'all what happened. But then Spike is kind of going through his situation like, you know what, I have to prove that I'm a man and all this other stuff because of all these things my father said about me is not necessarily true. So I have to come out here and I actually have to prove myself. So he drops the baby all back at the place that they're at. I kind of want them to explore that world a little more of this place that they live, which is like a island. And then they have like, a little runway situation that gets you there, but the only way you get there is like through the tides. This is them actually running back as the water is kind of going down, and then the what do you call it? Like the little runway that they have that gets them from one island to the mainland to their own little island. There's only a certain amount of time that you have because that tide rises up, and then there's no way you can get to and from the island. So when all of this stuff happens, he goes, drops the baby off, then he kind of goes over, does his own thing. But the weird part was, it was like, I was liking the tone of it all. There were certain parts of the movie that I didn't like, which was some of the shot decisions. Like I told y'all on Friday, when they would go and they would actually kill the zombies, they would kind of do like this. It felt like it was very like something out of the Matrix. Like they would freeze the frame and then it would do like this whole 360, camera move around. I'm like, I don't like that shot. I think that's stupid, but I feel like he was experimenting. Danny Boy was experimenting because it's like, how do you make your movie interesting and stand out amongst the overwhelming amount of zombie movies that we've had since 28 Days Later? Because there's been so many iterations between The Walking Dead and The Last of Us and a bunch of other little zombie movies in between that it's like, how do we kind of stand out in this world that we've kind of like ushered in a way? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not dismissing George Romero, because George Romero is the godfather of zombie movies, and I'm really looking forward to his daughter Tina Romero's zombie movie, which is Queens of the Dead. I'm looking forward to when that comes out. But when you're talking about this specific film, um, it's like, yeah, how do you stand out amongst all the other ones that have come out over the years? So that's what makes it relatively interesting. And so there were certain shots about that. I didn't like the juxtaposition. Like there would be certain sequences of like when they would be practicing their war stuff, how they would bring in old war footage and put that in between. So it kind of had like this documentary look. I don't like the juxtaposition. It didn't fit in. It didn't work for me. You get an A for effort for the experimentation, but some of the shots didn't work for me. And you bring in old war footage on top of like, oh, people actually standing at their posts and shooting arrows at like it just didn't. I didn't like that. Now let's get to this damn ending. So Jack O'Connell is in this film, who y'all know plays Remick in Sinners. He's in this movie. Actually, he comes in at the end because he plays this kid named Jimmy, who, if y'all see in the beginning of the movie where you see like the kids are sitting there watching the Teletubbies or whatever the case is, and then they get invaded by zombies or whatever the case is, he actually escapes and goes to the church. The church, that's when you see like the priest and the zombies, like my children and all that other mess. So he winds up getting away. They fast forward 28 years later. He becomes this older person by the name of, well, his name is Jimmy. And then they're starting to see like where there was this person that during one of the sequences, you see it in the commercial, where there's this guy hanging upside down and they kind of go in this abandoned house where I guess they're looking for supplies or whatever the case is. And the man is hanging and he's got like this writing carved into his body. And it literally says Jimmy. So people are trying to figure out who the hell is this Jimmy person, whatever. So he shows up in his blonde wig with rings on, and they all wearing tracksuits. And then all of a sudden they start backflipping off of like the top of rocks and stuff. Like, and all of a sudden it just went from being, this scary, weird art house action zombie movie to becoming a scene out of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I'm like, what the hell am I watching? That was the part at the end. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, what is happening? Am I having an acid trip right now? So they all start coming off. Then they hit beating people up with nunchucks and spears and all this other mess. And then so we start to find out who Jimmy is. So I didn't understand like all of the little the little Easter eggs and stuff up in there until I did some research and found out who is this Jimmy character that this is based on. So according to the report, it said that his Jimmy character is based off of a person by the name of Jenny Saville, who is a prominent British TV and radio personality revealed as one of the UK's most prolific sexual predators following his death in 2011. He abused children and adults of both genders, using his fame and charity work to gain access to vulnerable individuals. Now, don't that sound familiar? Because isn't this whole thing surrounded like with Diddy and Tyler Perry most recently? I've been saying that yeah, because and then, well, we got to protect so and so at all costs because they do so much for the community and they do so much for charity and they donate so much money. Blah 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 blah. I said that's how it starts. A lot of them, they do that, they donate and they do all the good stuff, but deep down inside, it's a smoke screen for them to be able to do the real damage, which would be like this Jimmy Savile character that I never heard of. So this is like British stuff that y'all putting up in here. Oh, there were certain parts that I didn't want to be sound like these ignorant Americans that don't watch foreign films, because I love foreign movies. However, y'all British accents was so damn thick. I'm like, I need to watch this movie again, and I gotta have the closed caption on, because the thickness of the accents. It was hard for me to understand what the hell these people were saying in this movie. But nevertheless, like I said, the acting was great and all that other stuff. But to finish with this, they said his crimes were committed in schools, hospitals, and even on TV. 400 victims were ultimately identified, with the youngest child being 8 years old. The scandal that followed prompted widespread reforms in child protection and exposed systemic cover-ups within the BBC and other organizations. Now, they said that 28 days later took place long before Saville was outed as an abuser, and these survivors are essentially being trapped in the early 2000s. The UK is cut off from the rest of the world when 28 years later begins, means that means the Jim Will Fix It host is likely viewed as a beloved figure. And so they're basically saying, like, yeah, the role of Jack O'Connell's character and his family, which is a replacement really for the family he loses at the beginning of the film, is to reintroduce evil into what has become a compassionate environment. And I think that that's where they're probably going to go with the new movie called The Bone Temple, which they're going to play more into that. But I think that what hurts these type of films is that when you start setting your stuff up as a trilogy, it starts to throw the fandom off, or it starts to throw you off as a writer and a creator, because it's like you're spending your first movie setting everything up that by the time we go to see the second one, I don't know. I don't know if the numbers is going to still be the same or whatever the case is, which let's scroll on down to how much the movie made this weekend. Because no shade, we don't care about Elio at this point. With me going to my whole, I'd use this as my review of 28 Years Later. So it said that it opened in second place. First place, I believe, was How to Train Your Dragon. That's still number one. And I think they brought in $30 million. But the 28 Years Later opened with 30, well, it's probably a little over 30 million, because 28 Years Later brought in 30 million. And it said from 3,444 venues, squarely in line with expectations. The film added an additional 30 million overseas, propelling its initial worldwide tally to 60 million. Those ticket sales marked the biggest debut in the Undead series, which began in 2002's 28 Days Later, which debuted at 10 million and continued with 2007, 28 weeks later. How did it make less? It said 9.8 million. But funny enough, I actually watched 28 Weeks Later last night. I had issues with that film. I mean, I like the sleekness and how it felt more like a Hollywood film versus like the first movie came across as so like this small budget indie film. My issue with that film was that y'all killed off people that I felt like we actually like. Like, I was mad y'all killed off Rose Byrne. Robert Carlyle should have died way in the beginning of the movie. He was a piece of shit. I couldn't stand his damn character. But I understand like the whole guilt and everything of what he did when he left his wife up in that house with that little boy that they brought in from, being chased by the infected. That little guilt, that sense, I get all of that. But and I'm mad that y'all killed off Jeremy Renner. That was unnecessary. Like, it was just a whole lot of stuff. And then that Andy child, the one that actually had like the two different, he irritated, that's a child that irritated my damn spirit in that movie, because he kept doing stupid stuff that caused a lot of harm and a lot of drama and a lot of stuff that was in that movie. But I get it. Y'all have to create these conflicts to keep the movie going or whatever the case is, whatever. But, yeah. So yeah, it made 60 million over the weekend. Congratulations to y'all. Oh wait, so How to Train Your Dragon brought in 37 million. So that's the number. And it only dropped 56% from its 83 million debut. So it's doing well. I'm sure they're going to get a live action version of that film. I mean, a sequel, How to Train Your Dragon 2. I'm sure it's going to be live action. But I wonder, like, in the animated films, they can't age them because it's a cartoon. Like, you could always draw the same person, the same age. But I'm sure that, well, now that the kid is growing in real life, you have to make him an adult. I mean, you have to grow him up. And then, seeing Gerard Butler in a big hit, that was a great thing too, because I'm a Gerard Butler fan. But yeah, so overall, did it feel like more or less I didn't like the movie? I felt like it was like I had my likes and my dislikes. It is a film that I feel like I feel like there's some people that are gonna love it, some people hated it. But I would say for me, it is something that I feel like I want to visit again, just to kind of get really into it and understand it more. Because I just saw it on Friday. I was like, it is what it is. Like, I didn't know how to feel about it, but I guess I exercise my feelings as I'm talking to y'all. But I do feel like when it does come out on like the streaming services or whatever the case is, I will definitely watch 28 Years Later again, whatever times. But yeah, so mostly I would just say this: all the actors and everything was good in it. There were some good action sequences. Like I said, there was some issues that I had with some of the shot decisions, and yeah, I feel like that's basically it. And that ending was just bizarre. So I'm definitely curious to see what ideas they have for the sequel. Like, I need to see a trailer for the sequel to even determine if I'm going to be overly excited about wanting to go spend the money to go see this in the theater again. My camera is acting a damn fool. So hold on, let me fix it. All right. So I say all this to you guys. What do you think of this story? Did you check out 28 years later? What did you think about it overall? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Did you not care to see it? Are you getting sick and tired of zombie movies altogether? Or, look, The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon just announced that they dropping a new season in September. So the zombie phenomenon ain't going no damn where. I just wish they figure out what they do on some damn Blade, which is our next topic right after this one. So I definitely want to hear from y'all. And also, what do you guys think of the reason why Elio didn't do so well at the box office? So whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments.